You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Templett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe you're being as consistent as possible and staying injury-free. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When your aspiration is to win the Europeans, continue setting goals in Jiu Jitsu. I'd like to welcome Craig Young to my podcast. Hi Craig, how are you?
I'm good, Lou. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. I've been on the mats training today, and whilst I might not have goals to win the Europeans, which we can hear about in a minute, I enjoy Jiu-Jitsu as much as the next person. Tell me about how you started training Jiu-Jitsu and kind of your journey now you're a black belt.
Yeah, blimey. I'm a black belt now, 3 years almost. It's a weird experience actually. I mean, the way I started jiu-jitsu was just by chance. I mean, I've always been into or enjoyed combat sport. You know, I had a fairly brief amateur boxing career, but I was actually dropping my wife off at a local community hall. This is back in 2012. Local community hall, just to pick up some dancing supplies. And I saw a guy come out and he was all sweaty. He had spats on. He had like one of those wrestling singlets, you know, like the big round neck wrestling singlets. And I actually undone my window and I said, like, excuse me. I called him over to the car. I said, what are you doing in there? He was like, oh, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I was like, is that the stuff they do in the UFC on the floor? And he was like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, can I come and try it? So he gave me the guy's number who owned the gym. The next week I went down and it wasn't a great experience. I mean, it was a good experience, but at the same time, not a very confronting experience. I walked in there with the preconceived notion that I can fight, right? I've boxed from when I was a kid all the way up until I was, at that time I was 21. So I was about 20 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I can fight, right? I can hold myself, grew up in a rough environment and very quickly found out I couldn't fight, couldn't hold myself on the ground at all. And got humbled very, very quickly.
Do you know what? Whilst I don't like hearing that we've been humbled or you've been humbled in that situation, it sounds like maybe your expectation of what you can achieve on the very first session of training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is probably like many of us, actually. We kind of go in, we I've not previously kind of immersed myself in any martial art or boxing or anything, but some of us have, and we think we can hold our own. But it sounds like you weren't able to hold your own in that session.
No, it wasn't, and the irony is as well, it was like a 40-year-old white belt. You know, not to say bad about that, but I was 20 years old, you know, athletic, you know, physically fit. I could run, could box, and this guy just manhandled me. Shout out to Ant if he's listening to this. He knows who he is. I'm still friends with him today. But he manhandled me. I didn't enjoy it at all. I remember I was on the bottom.
Okay.
I was mounted, and it was just claustrophobic, confronting, overwhelming. All of these horrible feelings that at the time were just like, wow, get me out of here. And I left the gym, went back, and then I said to my now wife, she was like, how was it? And I was like, really bad, really bad. I did not enjoy that session at all. But, there was another part of me that thought, all right, set your ego aside. I need to go back. I need to learn. I need to get better at this because, ultimately that's what it's about, right? And setting your ego aside and actually realizing there's room for improvement. And if I could go and continue and just be there for 6 months, no doubt I'll get better. Yeah. So that's typically that's how it started. That was in 2012, and here we are today, right? Black belt. But it has been a long journey.
Okay. Tell me a bit about those boxing years and kind of your experience kind of growing up before you got to that kind of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu first session and then kind of continued. Because I often feel like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu saves us all from ourselves, bringing us into a community, whether we are feeling lonely or, we're just kind of scrabbling around, going day in, day out, working or looking after the kids or whatever it is. Actually, it's a space and an environment that holds us and supports us.
Oh,
but
yeah,
tell
absolutely.
me a bit about before that time.
Yeah, I mean, when I say boxing career, it wasn't a boxing career. It was a fight in scenario I was in. So it was, you grow up in a rough neighborhood, you either learn how to fight or you learn how to run really fast. So I was always taught to defend yourself. That's protocol number one. So I learned to box. Obviously, you make friends there, and you fight on the street, that sort of thing when you're younger, and it's just the environment you're in. Having said that, going into my later teens, I mean, I wasn't consistently starting fights. I don't think that's what it was. I had a massive chip on my shoulder. I'm talking about when I'm like 16 up till early 20s. Big chip on my shoulder, victim mentality. It's everybody else's fault. And then obviously get to a point where, your mental health's not doing very well. You're making bad decisions, taking it out on people closest to you. And realistically, all it was is I needed an outlet. That's all it was. So once I'd got to a point where I was consistently going jiu-jitsu, I felt like where the kettle was consistently boiling and it was going to blow at any point, that jiu-jitsu session would just bring things down, like bring the simmer down. And just made me learn how to manage, I suppose, my emotion, my ego, my want to fight. You know as well as I do, after a jiu-jitsu session, how much fight have you got left in you? You're chilled, right? And you just
I don't know. I mean, it fires me up. I want to go again.
Oh, really?
So kind of growing up for me, if I kind of did some they send you on cross country right in the middle of winter. You're absolutely covered in mud, and you've got to pace that last bit to get to the finishing line. And then you go, oh my God, most people are kind of flat out on the muddy grass because they don't care. But every single time I'd finished, I'd always wanted to just go and do it again. I actually didn't. But, even today, sparring with the over 40s, I was like, more energy gives me more energy.
Oh, wow. I'm the opposite. Once I've been jiu-jitsu, I just wanted to lay around. I don't have that privilege because I've got two beautiful kids, but once I'm back from jiu-jitsu, all I want to do is just play Xbox or watch a film, but I can't. I've got two kids that keep me going all day. But I mean, back to it in terms of what it did for me at the time. I really was looking for an outlet, and I think most young men are, right. It's quite easy to fall into the trap of being a victim. I think that is quite easy, especially for young men. And although the stigma of talking to each other's gone a little bit more in 2024, 2025, that is, back when I was younger, it was a little bit more difficult. You couldn't really go ring your friend, can I have a chat about how I'm feeling? That just wasn't the way it was. So if there was a opportunity to take it out on somebody, whether that was in a pub, club, on the street, I would, unfortunately. But jiu-jitsu's massively helped me in that respect. Since I've started it, it's given me focus. It's given me, a purpose, a drive. I'm kind of one of those people, if I've not got something to do, then I'm always itching for something more. So like lockdown, for example, I won't go too far into that rabbit hole, but I was at a loss. What do we do? So I ended up taking up running, but that's a whole nother story.
Amazing. I do think running, I don't run. I don't have enough kind of spare time. And I was just chatting with someone about actually how you allocate your spare time. But runners, I do value their drive and consistency and kind of experience on the mats is, again, another level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anyone that takes up sport, competitive sport, and dedicates their spare time to it, outside of 9 to 5s, outside of kids, outside of everything else, more respect to them. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. So, white belt journey through to black belts. Do you want to elaborate? And did you compete during those years?
Yeah, so when I first started, obviously it was more of a case of, right, I want to get half decent at this sport. I want to be able to, hold myself, in a room. So I got my blue belt fairly quickly. I think I got it in about 10 months. But at the time, I think I was only training once or twice a week. Yeah, and it was in a local community hall. The guys were really nice, and I got my blue belt. So at the time, I mean, I think I'd competed a couple of times at white belt. And then I think my more prolific years up until that point were obviously blue belt, and I was, doing the regional competitions. My self-confidence was shot. Although, I was getting better, the fear of competing massively held me back. I was doing well in my gym. I was doing well. If I visited other gyms, I would roll well. I would hold myself well with other guys at my level, or give purple belts a harder time, stuff like that. But as soon as it got to competition, I had this crux, and I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I would be defeated before I got to the competition. Mindset for competition is huge, and I actually remember there was a time, and I've never said this to anybody out loud apart from my best friend. So all of your viewers are going to get this soundbite or the information. But having said that, I remember I specifically got to a competition, and I was on the edge of the mat, and I said, "I'm not going to win this match." I remember thinking, "I'm not going to win this." I was telling myself, "You've got silver as a guarantee. You've got it. Don't worry, you're not going to win this anyway." And I lost. I got silver. But afterwards, I remember sitting in the car thinking, "What on earth?" The mindset is terrible for competition. So for me, it was a case of, although I was there for the physical aspect and the self-defense, and it really was about changing my mindset, making sure my mental health was right, and making sure that my mindset to grow and get better was improving on and on and on. That's all it was. At the time.
Do you think knowing that you're entitled to a default medal changes anyone's kind of game when they're at a competition?
It depends, right? So I've got two trains of thoughts on this, and I've thought about this before because I've been both people. I've been, right, it's a big competition. If I get on the podium, great. And there is merit to that. There is. And listen, if you go to the Worlds, the caliber of competition is so high, getting onto the podium would be incredible, right? But when you're on these regional competitions, the grappling industries, the English Open, the even to some extent the British Open, me personally now, I want to be winning them. I want anything less than gold for me now. It's not good enough. But people that train once or twice a week, they're hobbyists that have got fit, they want to challenge themselves, and they get on that podium, they should be absolutely proud of themselves, 100%. So it's relative to that person, and it's relative to that person's goals, personal goals. My personal goal is, if I go out there to compete, I want gold. I want gold medal. That's me. It depends on the person.
I think, I'm kind of relating to my experience. I went over to Barcelona the kind of beginning of 2024, and there were only three of us in the category. I dropped from Masters 4 down to Masters 2, and actually there were three of us, so I was there for a default bronze. But there were so many challenges along the way, changing category to actually get a match in the first place, getting to Barcelona, all the logistics of all that stuff. But actually, when you said about stepping on the side of the mats, knowing or kind of saying to yourself, I'm only going to get this particular medal, it kind of puts you in that place. I found probably that was my mindset as well. And I didn't, my first competition, I felt like I didn't really fight, and there was something missing. There was that fire, and I was like, how do I manifest that fire if there are only limited number of people in that category? So what is it for you? I mean, you've got a number of years of experience in competing now, but what is it that drives you for that gold, that you're giving yourself that target and that goal to achieve the best you possibly can?
There's a lot of facets to that question, right? And I feel like there's who I'm doing it for, which is, fundamentally it's myself, right? But there's other people involved. Who has put time and effort into me to get me to this point? Who has supported me? My wife has supported me first and foremost. She puts up with a lot. I go to competitions all around the country. So she supports me on my journey. My coach, the amount of time that he puts into me, my teammates, the amount of work they do with me. But ultimately, who is holding me accountable, right? It's me. I've been at competitions before where there's 4 in a bracket, it's straight knockout. You either win the first or you're going home, right? Or you get a default bronze, which is not a nice feeling, but it's all it is mental hurdles that you're just overcoming in order to make sure you're representing yourself at the best you can in that moment and not letting yourself down. Because I've had the mindset of letting myself down before I've even tried. I've had that mindset. And I don't want to do it again ever. It's not a nice feeling.
I think I think you kind of live and you learn, but I don't know, I wanted to kind of elaborate on the letting yourself down. I always feel that some of us, if we are accountable to other people, whilst primarily we are accountable to ourselves and putting that goal inside, one of the easiest ways is to be responsible to somebody else and do it for them rather than us.
Oh, absolutely.
But it sounds like over time that the aim is to bring that intent back inside and just do it for you, regardless of anything else. But that sounds like a journey in itself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if you're doing it for somebody else, the ultimate goal, look, there's as much as that's great and as much as there's credit to that, you should be doing it for people around you to inspire them, for your teammates, to for your coach, for the returning what he's done for you. But ultimately, it should be for yourself, because we're in the sport to get better. We're in the sport to improve. But if you're doing it for somebody else, let's say, for example, you're doing it for somebody else, you lose. We've all been there where you go, I'm sorry to let you down. I'm sorry to let you down, coach. And what are they going to say? They're going to say something that makes you feel better in that moment. No problem. You didn't let me down. You've not let anybody down. It's fine. We're going to work on it. You're going to get better. You'll come back stronger. That's typically the stuff you'll hear. But when you sit on the sofa at night, when you're laying in bed before bed, you know how you feel. You know you let yourself down, and you know that you could have done better. So all it is it's fine to lose, but you have to lose in the right way if you are going to lose. I know it sounds a bit...
no, I think that's...
that way, but...
It's reset my thoughts around intent and where the fire comes from, because I haven't really unpicked that narrative, but you've made it a bit clearer that actually, whilst you could do it for other people, it's still over time finding it for yourself.
But look, I'm saying that now because I've been through the journey, and I have had big influences on my mindset, especially over the recent years. I know you've had Spencer on here as a guest before, but Spencer's been a major part in my mental shift, my mindset, the focus I have, and the drive I have. So everything really, it was just a light bulb moment as soon as I walked in the gym. Conversations we've had, we sat down and had a really good chat about what I had as my aspirations, my goals, short term and long term, and it just resonated with him because he's been through a similar journey. I joined Spencer as a black belt, so I actually moved gyms as a black belt, which is never easy. If you're anybody in the jiu-jitsu world will know that. You got your black belt from one professor and you move into another gym. It's never easy for a multitude of reasons. One, you're leaving a gym that you've been loyal to for over 10 years. You're cutting ties with a professor who gave you that what's wrapped around your waist, right? But if you're being open and honest and candid with yourself, the move was right for me, and I do not regret it, because Spencer is an incredible coach, he's an incredible mentor, and the level at Checkmat Essex is astounding.
Amazing. We'll hear more about that in a moment. I've got some questions to ask you, Craig.
Yeah, go for it.
This is the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Go and check out the latest video clips over on jiu.jitsu.lu on Instagram. And as you're listening or watching on your favourite podcast platform, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review, as this year I'm really looking to grow the show even more than it has grown already. Today I'm having a conversation with Craig Young. So, Craig, let's come back to that moment when you, as a black belt, walked into a new gym, Spencer Hewitt's gym over in Checkmat Essex.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, I was a black belt, and it's hard to say I was intimidated, but I was intimidated. I'd recently got my black belt the same calendar year. I'd been through an injury, which is a story of my life, unfortunately. But I'd been through an injury, and I won't go into the reasons exactly why I wanted to leave because, for the respect of my old professor. But I walked into Checkmat. The first thing I noticed is just the accolades on the wall. He's got, if you ever go there, Lou, he's got a big wall just full of medals. Boom. Loads of pictures, European champs, left, right, and centre. And I went to I knew Spencer before just from the circuit, and I knew his reputation. So I went into the gym, went to a few trial classes, and it was tough. It was very, very tough. You've got competitive brown belts and purple belts just giving you a hard time. Coming back from injury, you're the new black belt in the gym. They're testing you. Naturally, they're testing you, which I love, by the way. But, you got your mat enforcers. Everyone knows them. But they were on me because it's their gym, right? And I'm the new guy. I'm the new black belt. And, it was intimidating, but super friendly guys. And immediately felt part of the team, which is great. But on the back of that, obviously, I'd already had a conversation with Spencer on how I see the next chapter of my journey going. And we were exactly on the same page. And the one thing I found out with Spencer is not just a, yes man. He just didn't want my signature on the paper. He didn't want me as a member. It was, he wanted to help me. I could immediately tell he wanted to help. So my first responsibility as part of Checkmat Essex was to rise to the level of the room. I always want to be one of the best in the room, no matter what gym I go into. Sometimes that's naturally not going to happen. But, I wanted to immediately gain the respect of the room because they're just a bunch of savages. I've been the young guy before. I've been the young guy in the room, and you've got the older guys that you could just stick it on. I'm 35 now, 36 now. And, it's getting harder and harder to keep up with the younger guys. You've got there's a guy called Harry. He's a competitive young purple belt. You've got Mo, who's just turned 30. He leans on the fact that he's a master, but he's not. And he just won the Europeans.
But any 30-year-old, you are not masters. Okay, we're kind of heading into the late 40s, beginning to kind of touch on the 50s. You are not masters.
But they're fantastic, and they help. Everybody listens. They're all friends, and that was that. And look, I fitted into the team. I felt really well. And my level was just thankfully gone up and up.
Good.
But if we lean on the conversations with Spencer, I know it sounded cheesy, and forgive me if it does, but I immediately said to him, I want to be one of the best. I want to win the big ones. I want to win the Europeans. I want to do these things because why not? And I did feel as though I had the talent. I just didn't have the guidance. But that's what Spencer has been. He's been a true coach.
That's amazing. I don't want to diminish the kind of step you took to go to a new gym, but for me, there's a lot of resonance with you being in your 20s, starting out Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and being kind of smashed up by a 40-year-old. Actually, does it feel like there's some resonance with that reconnecting with that journey? And also the bravery in asking that individual walking across the car park, what they were doing and could you go and take part? And it sounds like you've used that energy and that charisma to have the conversation with Spencer, where some of us would not go and have that conversation. We put it aside. We kind of put it off for an amount of months, years, and never maybe have that conversation. But I really feel a sense of bravery from you in taking that step.
Well, look, I appreciate that, and there is a part of that. Obviously, I was at a point where I owed it to myself. I know I keep going back to that, but you can't do things for other people all your life. And a lot of my childhood is doing things for other people and not thinking about myself, being bottom of the pile, that kind of thing. So from being a child, all my early teens up to my late teens, I was bottom of the pile. In life and everywhere else. So it was a point where I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this for me. And I don't regret it. It was a fantastic choice for myself. I feel like I'm at home there now. And, if there is anybody that is thinking about taking up a sport, thinking about doing something that they know will better themselves, but they can't, I just encourage them, I implore them to take the risk, because what's going to happen? What's the worst going to happen? You'll get better, maybe.
Think? Well, absolutely. If you keep showing up and there's consistency, everyone's going to get better. Where do you think those dreams kind of came from to be better, and those inspirations? I mean, the Europeans haven't come out of nowhere. What's been your inspiration to kind of achieve at the highest level?
Well, I mean, just surrounding myself with those people. Even from a young age, I used to seek out mentors. I used to seek them out because I didn't have any. I didn't have anyone around me that was guiding me in any which way direction. So I was sort of dragging myself through life. I was dragging myself through my childhood, as bad as that sounds. So I'd always seek out some mentors. But you could draw inspiration from people around you, right? I get inspiration from all of the guys at Checkmat. There's guys that are older that are competing. There's a guy called Clive. I think Spencer mentioned him on the podcast. He's still doing the worlds. I think he's like 65. He's still doing the worlds. And then you've got guys that are young, up and coming, hungry. They're going out, smashing local comps, big comps. You draw inspiration from people around you. And not only that, it doesn't even have to be jiu-jitsu related. I've got really close friends that are doing amazing in their careers. I've got close friends that own businesses that are doing fantastic. I've got friends that grew up me in the environment I grew up with, and they're also doing amazing. So it's not necessarily jiu-jitsu related. It's weeding out the people that are going to be detrimental to you. And I think, everybody goes through it, especially when you get to mid-30s. You don't want to be surrounded by 50 different people. You want to be surrounded by the very close-knit people that are truly your friends, truly have your actual interest at heart, and are there for you, regardless whether it's good or bad, right?
Yes. Do you feel there's a sense where you kind of leveled up or continue to level up in that process?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As a person, 100%. I think one of the main factors for me one of the turning points in my life was as soon as I had children. I think that really changed my mindset as well. Now it's not just myself I'm worrying about. I know that's the cliche, but I have to be better for them now, because I don't want to repeat the cycle. I want to be the circuit breaker, right? I want to be 0.0 and make sure that they have a good life. So that's one of my main priority, although my wife would probably say differently. Jiu-jitsu is a priority of mine, but my children are number one. And my family are number one, right? And, it's my responsibility to be the best dad I can, the best husband I can, best friend I can, best teammate I can. But all of that comes from jiu-jitsu, because it's a parallel to life. It makes you a better person. It actually genuinely does. You can learn so much about yourself in the dark moments on the mat that just translate to life. It's just simple for me. Very black and white in my mind.
No, I think some of us agree and, will resonate. And I love what you said about, kind of doing it for the kids, actually resetting their future. when you have children, it just puts a different perspective on life. That actually, for me, I want to be as strong and fit in my 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That's my goal for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
But actually, the only way I can do that, in my opinion, right now, is to train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, because it gives you all of the aspects that are kind of in play, but also having those role models in place. And I've mentioned BJJ Betty before, that started at 54 and now she's in her 70s as a black belt.
Yeah, that's incredible. That is
from
incredible,
a female perspective, having role models in those later years is just, resonates with those of us over 30.
100%, and everybody needs one. I'm lucky enough to have loads around me. I'm lucky enough to be able to share the mats with my daughter now. She trains jiu-jitsu, bless her. So she trains jiu-jitsu a few times a week. So I'm on the mats with her, and one of my fondest memories was, I was in the moment, but I remember thinking, wow, I'm a black belt and I'm on the mat with my daughter. Like, who would have thought? It was just such a sort of poignant moment for me.
Yeah.
That'll be forever. And she actually come to watch me compete. The first time she ever come to watch me compete was on Polaris. Didn't go my way, unfortunately. I was up against a guy called Dinu Bukalet, who's a monster. But I held my own and give myself a good accord. But she was inspired. She wants to compete now, which is amazing. So it just shows you it's doing its job, right? I'm doing my job, which is the only thing I can do.
We'll talk about Polaris in a moment, but I want to just kind of say that, I've got a number of friends, and I've seen a mother and daughter black belt, a recent promotion. The daughter has just been promoted to black belt, but actually having a whole family of black belts is one of my friends' ambitions. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. But actually, can you imagine? I mean, I would just walk away at that point. But but just to have that goal and ambition for your loved ones to progress and grow as much as they are capable to do within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, 100%. I mean, but I'll go for it. I was going to allude on that. I was going to expand on that.
Do.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I know my daughter's doing it. I've got a son as well. He's way too young. He's only 18 months. I don't think he would take in the technique. But
some of us parents might say that it's okay. Maybe another 6 months.
No. Yeah, I'm going to give him another couple of years, but he'll definitely be on the mat. I think an aspiration for mine is to bring my daughter up to a level where she could just take care of herself. That's all I want from her. Yeah. I watched a Jacko Willick podcast. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But he said, if your kids don't like jiu-jitsu, that's not a reason to let them quit. If they find it tough, that's not a reason to let them quit. What you can do is whittle it down to say, okay, fine. If you don't like it, we're just going to go twice a week, or we're just going to go once a week. You're going to learn the fundamentals of self-defense. You can shroud it in that framework, because they should learn how to protect themselves. So that's all I want from my daughter. She enjoys it, thankfully, and hopefully, journey is long. But my son, it's a bit more rigid. I know I won't be too hard on him, but I'll make sure he's on the mat.
He'll be listening to this in future years, Craig. Watch out.
Yeah, he'll be listening to this. But I would really love for both my kids to be mat rats just like me. I'd love that.
And you haven't encouraged your wife to step on the mats yet?
Oh, no. I mean, in my early days of learning, I used to use her as like a grappling dummy, and she hated it. So, I won't be doing that anymore. Yeah, absolutely not.
You've learned your lesson.
Yeah, very quickly. There's an easy way out of submission. It's called the pinch. She used to just pinch me. So, I just have to let go.
The secrets are out, Craig.
No, that's it.
I just want to kind of come back just quickly before we talk about Polaris, but about kids maybe not liking jiu-jitsu. Now, we all know that maybe when we're training, it's an hour. Sometimes the kids' sessions aren't even quite an hour. But actually what they might be experiencing is the travel to, the travel from, how nourished they are after school, if it's an after school thing. There's lots of factors where they might not like, but they're not necessarily able to articulate what it is. So they'll just generally go, I don't want to do this. But it's a case and responsibility for us as parents to listen and be aware about the factors in that whole day, maybe, that might not be as smooth as they could be, to enable that, the great experience that we know we all have when we train. Even us as adults, I quite like traveling to go to different open mats. So for me, the getting there is fine. The washing, that's a cross against training jiu-jitsu, full stop, and the sweatiness. But that's fine. We can all deal with that. We're adults.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've had my daughter. I live that as well, right? Obviously, I'm lucky enough to be on the mat with her. But I see it from the car journey side as well, right? I see it from the post school side. Sometimes they're knackered. Sometimes they don't want to go. They actually just don't want to go. But it's the same as I think I have to frame it. It's long term for her. I want it to be long term for her. So look, listen, I try to rationalize with her as much as you can rationalize with a 6-year-old, but I try to do that. And just to explain, once we're there, I'll water it down. Once we're there, you'll have fun, and she loves it. She loves it when she's there. But
they
I do
all
have to be
love it.
mindful
They
of
all
it.
love it.
Yeah, you absolutely have to be mindful of it because it is taxing, and it's a learning experience for me, right? I've been on the mat with my daughter, and she's been trapped on the bottom. She's been mounted, she's been trapped on the bottom, and she can't get out. And she's not freaking out, but she's squirming, she's getting frustrated, and I want to do everything in my might to help her, but you can't step in. It's life. You have to let them deal with
journey.
it.
Completely
Absolutely.
their own journey.
And if it's detrimental to her if I step in and no, start again standing and let her out of that scenario. As much as I wanted to help, I had to fight every instinct as a dad not to go stop, stand up, and make some excuse for her. But she's learning. She's doing a really good job, and I'm really, really proud of her.
It's so good. We've all got to fight our own journeys, even from as young as being a child. That's, shapes us throughout the whole of life to, just grow and exist in, a good space.
Absolutely.
Craig, tell me about Polaris, and then I do want to come on to your new apparel business. But tell me about your experience at Polaris.
Yeah, do you know what? It was an aspiration of mine to get on Polaris. When I first started jiu-jitsu, I think Polaris 1 or 2 was out. They might keep me true here, but I think it was around 2011 or 2010. Anyway, maybe a bit later. But I remember the show, and I just thought, wow, what an incredible production. The talent is, impeccable. So I remember just watching everyone. I went to a couple, I think, to watch live, and I was just in awe of it. And it wasn't my end goal to get on Polaris, but absolutely, why not? And especially once I joined Checkmat, it was, I'm capable of holding myself at this level. I'm capable of competing at this level. And it got to a point where, I'd won a few regional competitions, nothing major. And Polaris offered me a matchup, and I'm never going to say no to that. I actually asked back for a specific guy. Then they offered me Dinu. I just said, yeah, great, I'll have that. Because the guy I would like to have had a matchup with, because I thought it'd be a good stylistic matchup, bit of fun. But they offered me Dinu, and I said, yeah, straight away. And then I went and looked at him online, like, oh, let's see who I've said yes to. Let's have a look who I've said yes to. And not that it would have made a difference, but I was like, great, I'm on. But the whole experience, if I could pay credit to them, was just unbelievable, because it spread to my wider family. They knew how big of an event it was. They knew what it meant to me. I'd pick friends, family, come along, watch live. My kids were there. My wife was there. All my teammates come along. It was a big thing for me, as it is for most people that go on that show. But the whole thing, took it in my stride. There was probably because I thought, right, this might be one of the only opportunities that I got to go on this show, but at the same time, I genuinely didn't feel like an imposter. You know, a lot of competitions where, you know, that local competition when I was a blue belt, I'm standing there going, oh, you're going to lose, you're going to lose. And then I'm at Polaris as a black belt going, like, you belong here. You know, and that sounds...
Wow. No, that's amazing.
So my mindset, the journey of my mindset, like that for me stuck. Like how far I've come from doubting myself at a local competition down the road to where I live at a community, a leisure centre. To stand in backstage at Polaris and they're waiting to call me out, and but I had my coach going to me like, you belong, and I was just thinking, fuck, like, it was a moment that stick with me forever, and I genuinely believed everything he said, and I mean, like, what a journey from that to that. It's just such a contrast. So for me, that just validated why jiu-jitsu is so good. You know, why the journey has been so good for me, and especially since I joined Checkmat. I don't think it would have been achievable without Spencer and the guys at Checkmat.
It's amazing.
It was incredible.
I love the kind of echo back to the blue belt, the imposter syndrome that I'm going to lose to the black belt. You know, you've got this, you belong here. Holy sheesh. When you said, I belong here, or that, you know, you kind of echoed your coach speaking. I don't know about your listeners, but I had goosebumps then. I
have goosebumps now. Me and my friend were talking about it the other day back in the pub. I was having a pint with him, and because he was with me, my friend Vinny. He's been with me throughout my whole journey. He trains as well. He's a brown belt, very talented guy. But he was with me, so I got one of the coaches' passes for him, just so he could experience the whole thing with me. So I wanted to do it with my best pal, and oh man, what a thing to do together, and we'll never forget it. And we were stood there, and we both had goosebumps in that moment. It was incredible, and you know, the match was competitive. Dino was middleweight black belt champion, European champion. You know, I'm naturally a lightweight. I compete at 73. Yes, no excuse. You know, he beat me, but I did a good job. I held myself to a good standard, and it was a competitive match. But it didn't go my way. But that's just life. That's just life.
Yeah, there are lots more opportunities, it sounds, coming up in 2025. Tell me about what you're preparing yourself for.
A lot, actually. Just providing I can stay injury-free, which I'm hoping I can. I'm on a good, touch wood. I'm on a good even keel at the moment, and just consistency. That's what I want, mainly. Consistency, improvement. The results are secondary. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to win the Europeans, and that's my goal. I want to win the Europeans in Rome in October. And I believe I can do it. I genuinely do. But for me, it's the consistency. If I go there and fail, and when I say fail, get anything but gold. As long as I've been consistent, and as long as I've been consistent throughout the year, and I'm competing and improving, that's the main goal for me.
Amazing. Now, tell me about your new apparel brand, because I've seen it kind of popping up on Instagram a little bit, and it sounds like a new venture for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm super excited about it. Again, I've referenced Vinny before, but it's with my best pal, Vinny. It really is like a passion project. We don't drink a lot, but we sat in the pub and we were chatting away about what we wanted from a jiu-jitsu brand and what we wanted. And we felt as though there wasn't a lot around there. Like, you get the big players in the area, but they've already got a niche in the market that they're killing, right? But we're going to come at it from a different angle. We're coming at it from a street apparel angle. We're really excited. We've got lots and lots of great ideas. Vinny's a very talented guy, so he's doing all the techie stuff in the background. I'm mainly doing all the talking. But as a pair, I think we work really, really well. And it's called On Point Apparel, On Point Jiu-Jitsu, Instagram and TikTok. But we've got some fantastic ideas, and we're really excited to get it out to market. We're almost there, and show everybody what we've got. I think it's going to be great.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. Not that I wear rash guards in the street, because I'm a very sensible mother
You're not John
of
Danaher.
2. But, an alternative, because sometimes we want to have that identity kind of for the outside world just a little bit. I've got kind of patches and badges and all sorts of things, but they're kind of subtle and small. But actually, sometimes it would be nice to have something a bit more.
Well, this is it, right? We are coming at it from an angle where you can wear the clothes out, right? This is what we want.
Yeah.
I'd love a T-shirt that I can go to the pub in that's just a little nod to jiu-jitsu. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not, the big blood splatters or the jiu-jitsu across the back, and some of it can be quite overwhelming. And
I hope you're not dissing my jiu-jitsu Lou podcast.
Not you. No, I'm not. You know what I'm saying. But
it's fine.
It's the subtle nod to jiu-jitsu that if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you can still wear it. You can still wear that stuff, and
Got it.
It's going to be really good. We're both really excited, and we're both working very, very hard. Very, very hard. We've got our short-term and long-term goals as always. The sky's the limit. We'll see.
I love it. I can't wait to see what the rest of 2025 brings. And I'd love to have you back on a year from now, talking about your achievements and how far your kind of passion project and On Point brand has progressed.
Thank you very much. I love the show. I think you are doing a fantastic job, and I'm looking forward to seeing your progress as well.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. I don't know how to take the kind of, the nice compliments. I've got to work on that. That's my 2025 goal.
Yeah, don't bat it back. Take it.
Okay, it's coming in. Thank you so much, Craig.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast.